So you guys know Jordan Peterson, right? Profound speaker, genius intellect in many respects. Well, he's written this masterpiece called 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. And I am going to butcher it step by step. Fuck yeah. But in all seriousness, I'm just going to give a dumb, quick summary of this amazing book, which I would highly recommend. I'll leave a link in the description box below where you can get it, or you can sign up to Audible, get a free 30-day trial, and get this book for free. How good's that? Anyways, rule 1, stand up straight with your shoulders back. We now know that physiology is going to affect how you feel, right? This has been proven by science over and over and over again. Now, Jordan Peterson goes into a long history about lobsters in this chapter and how we have the exact same serotonin circuits, and the lobsters that fight and win, they have better posture, more serotonin, they're higher up on the hierarchy. I don't know, something like that. Even think about it. As soon as you start, it reminded me to stand straight, but like as soon as you stand up straight, you got your shoulders back, you got your head up, you feel more confident. You automatically feel better. Whereas if I'm like all crouched over, my neck's down, I don't know, I already feel like a loser just by doing this. You know, like Tony Robbins says, emotion is created by motion. That was the worst Tony Robbins impression of all time. Please forgive me. But it's so true. You can use your physiology to change your state. Whether it's cold showers, standing up straight, eating healthy, exercise, yada, yada, yada. Rule 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. It's a sad reality that there are a lot of people out there who treat their pet with more care than they do themselves, right? They'll walk them, feed them every day, take them to the vet if something's up, but when it comes to their own health and well-being, I don't know, people seem to forget to take care of themselves, like, properly. We eat junk food, we lower our standards, we hang out with shitty people, we put ourselves in stressful situations, we don't take care of ourselves, blah, 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 right? And that's because, for whatever reason, there's a lot of people in today's society where we just don't value ourselves. You know what I mean? So treat yourself as if you're responsible for taking care of a young child or something like that. Surely if you're somewhat of a good person, you're going to take care of this child because it's your responsibility. Well, treat yourself like you're that child. But I know that kind of came out wrong, but you know what I mean. Raise your standards and treat yourself like you're freaking worth something, because what you do does matter. Yeah, that's all right. Rule 3, make friends with people who want the best for you. Stop hanging out with people who aren't good for you and start hanging out with people who inspire you, right? It's like Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're hanging out with people who are miserable, who complain all the time, who are depressed, who just party every single weekend and just are on survival mode, basically, then guess what you're going to turn into? You know what I mean? But if you start hanging out with people who genuinely want the best for you and are going to help and support you on your journey, that's what you want, right? And for the people who be like, oh, but I don't have any good friends, I don't know where to find it. Just, mate, Google, search meetups, or just listen to podcasts and audiobooks where you have a mentor chatting away in your ear. Like, there's no excuses, especially in this digital age. Rule 4, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Now, no matter what skill you're good at or what you pride yourself in, there is always, always, always going to be someone better than you at that thing, right? You may think you're like this amazing guitar player, but you're not Jimi Hendrix, you know what I mean? You may have some amazing acting skills, but you still know Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a pretty good actor, right? There's no point in playing the comparison game, especially when it's comparing yourself to another person, because their individual circumstances are going to be different to you, right? We all have this unique journey and unique gift and a unique purpose in this life. So if you are going to play the comparison game, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And as long as you are improving from the yesterday version of yourself, then you're in the win. Rule 5, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Jordan Peterson talks about how you shouldn't let your kids do things that is going to make you resent them in the long term. You know what I mean? And besides, we have a lot of shitty people in the society. So it's like, do we really need another one? If your kid does things that make you not like them, like scream and cry every time you turn off the television, then it's not going to get any easier. You're going to build resentment towards them, which is going to negatively affect your personal relationship with your kid, which is going to affect them in a negative way and how they interact with the outside world. And then we all have to deal with your shitty kid because you didn't want to enforce discipline. You know what I mean? And it's not about crime and punishment. It's about rewarding when they do good behaviors and punishing them when they don't. And again, I'm not a parent. I am just paraphrasing and butchering what I remember Jordan Peterson saying in this chapter, okay? No judgment here, I'm still a fucking kid. Rule 6, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. I really, really like this one because it's so easy to just complain about the world. We've all done this. I'm very guilty of this, of complaining about the government and conspiracy theories and it's capitalism's fault. But it's motherfucker, you don't even have the discipline to clean your room, and you have the audacity to complain about the world and how society is run. Set your life in order. Do the little things first. Cleaning up your environment, going for walks, hanging out with a good tribe, yada, yada, yada. It's all the little consistent things you do on a daily basis, which produces profound compound interest in the long term. That's where you get the massive gains. And even then, don't criticize the world. Get your shit in order. Rule 7, pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Finding a meaning and purpose to your life is of utmost importance if you want to have that inner fulfillment and that drive that keeps you going even when life just keeps throwing shit at your face. You know what I mean? Pursuing what's meaningful isn't always the easy choice. In fact, this is the choice that is most likely going to produce the most resistance from everyone else. Your parents may want you to be a doctor and you've got that huge pressure of everyone wanting you to follow this path, but it's you don't want to be a doctor, you want to be an artist. But then it's but an artist, that's not responsible, that doesn't provide security and blah, 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 blah. You want to be a respectable doctor where you can build a life and be respected in this society. But it's you can do that. You can have the money, you can be respected by your peers and whatnot, but in the end of the day, if you're not doing something that aligns with your core values, something that gives you personal meaning, then you're going to be miserable at the end of the day. I just don't see it going any other way. Pursue what's meaningful for you. Follow your passion. And I know it's a very dangerous advice saying follow your passion, because it isn't just as simple as that. It's, on one level, to follow your passion, follow what excites you and what you feel like you have something to offer the world. But then, obviously you got to do, there's so many other factors to it. So I'll just leave it at that. Rule 8, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. The truth shall set you free, but at first it's going to piss you off. I highly resonate with Jordan Peterson when he says this. And I think it's very important to tell the truth and not lie. And not saying something when you know you should, you're still lying on some level, right? Which is going to produce problems. Tell the truth, don't lie, and say what needs to be said when you know it needs to be said, as uncomfortable as it may make you. You all know this situation where it's you know that you should tell the truth to a certain person or a group, right? And if you do, it's going to avoid long-term pain and suffering, but then you don't do it because you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you don't want to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation. Tell the fucking truth. Just do it. If not for you, at least for everybody else. Rule 9, assume that the person you're listening knows something you don't. I really, really like this rule. We all have those moments where it's we think we know so much about this particular subject because you've studied your entire life for it or whatever. And then when you talk to someone who doesn't have any qualifications in that area, you kind of you don't really intentively listen to them like they have something to offer you. And this is a massive, massive mistake that a lot of us do. Everyone is your teacher. Everyone. And if not directly, it's indirectly. Let's say if you talk to a certain family member that brings a lot of emotional triggers, right? And you think this person doesn't know anything, but it's no, they're actually teaching you a lot about yourself, right? Because when you have an emotional reaction, it's there's something there. There's they're putting salt on an open wound which you haven't completely resolved. This is one little tiny example of how everyone is your teacher and how everyone has something. Everyone knows something that you don't as well. And it's funny because it's the paradox of the more you know, the more you are aware of what you don't know. You know what I mean? It's the boundaries of what you don't know expands the more you learn. So don't ever assume you know anything and that someone that you talk to doesn't have anything to offer you. right? Go to your local city and talk to a homeless person. I guarantee you, you're gonna fucking learn a lot. A lot. And they're going to have fascinating stories which is going to open your mind. But we cast them aside like, oh, they don't know nothing. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah. So genuinely and compassionately listen to every single person that you come across. Rule 10, be precise in your speech. The amount of conflicts we get into because of the lack of context and the lack of clarity there is in how we formulate our language. Language profoundly affects our perception of reality. So if you are going to use language, be as clear and precise as you possibly can. If you look at language, as soon as you label something from unknown to known, it's like it makes it less scary and easier to deal with, right? Because the unnameable is far more terrifying than something that can be named, something that can be labeled, you know? Look at Harry Potter, for example. Like, you know who just made it so much worse, man. Fucking say it. Voldemort. I don't even know. Rule 11. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Now, this is a very peculiar rule, but it makes a lot of sense what he was saying. And it goes along the line of, like, don't bother children when they're skateboarding. Because it's like, they're expressing themselves. They're at least doing something productive. They're putting themselves in a situation where they're at least, like, facing their fears, because it's a very courageous act to skateboard. He goes into a lot about masculinity, and it's like, just let men do the thing, give us a break. It's like, we have like this overly political correctness movement going on, and it's like, we want everyone to be safe. And even in Australia, they're taking away all these monkey bars because, oh, we don't want kids to hurt themselves. And it's like, man, the best time for people to learn is when they're kids. It's like we're sheltering our kids a little bit too much. It's like, this world is a fucked up, dark, chaotic place. You know, you got to get used to it and not just hide away from the terrifying reality of it all. So don't bother children. Let them do their thing. Yeah, I think it's a pretty reasonable deal. Rule 12, pet the cats when you encounter one on the street. Dogs are okay too. So this is actually a very deep chapter where he goes into some of the hardships that he went through and what the health condition that his daughter went through, and it was a very tough time, right? So he went through a lot of pain and suffering, and what I guess the essence of this rule is like, even when life gets too much and there's so much pain and suffering, malevolence, tragedy, find the little things to appreciate and love, you know what I mean? Like if you see a cat in the street, pet it, enjoy it, be grateful for what you have, and take it by little, you know? Because it's like, even something as little as this can take the load of this overbearing weight of suffering and tragedy, you know what I mean? So, yeah, gratitude. Pretty important. Very important. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this butchered edition of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. This is not like a proper review, guys. Like, I urge you to actually go out and get the book. It will change your life, and you can listen to it over and over and over again. So either you can get a hard copy book or the Audible versions. Either way, support this channel by clicking on the affiliate link below. Helps us out. Costs the same for you anyway, but get yourself this book. Let us know what you think. All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace.